Hello, I'm Dr. Thomas Maples, and welcome to a Sacred Journey vlog and podcast. Today's topic, we're going to explore finding inner peace and well-being. You may ask, what is inner peace? Well, there's a secret to inner peace and well-being, but it isn't what you may think. Many can find it in body movements such as running, physical activities, maybe meditation. Others can find it in more spiritual practices, maybe prayer or yoga or other contemplative exercises that hit upon spirit. Still, others may find inner peace and well-being in their capacity to engage in mentally strenuous activities. Maybe one's inner peace is found in a chess game or a card game. I liken inner peace and well-being to a dance. This is because tensions build up in a dance, and it really mimics, in a way, what we see in the literary world, the tension that exists between an antagonist and protagonist. Both characters that could pull at us and create the space needed to engage an inner sense of serenity. Now, personal well-being and peace strongly correlate to the Eastern philosophies of the Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, and the Dalai Lama, but it's not entirely an Eastern notion. Being a state of being, not solely of the mind, the ideals behind peace and well-being transcend our ability for categorical thought and act as a unifying force between the spiritual, physiological, and the cognitive and emotional, that which we call mental aspects of our own well-being. The balance between body, mind, and spirit creates inner roads for well-being to emerge, and this well-being is the source from which we find inner peace. When in equilibrium, the three meridians, body, mind, and spirit, promote intrapsychic health, because what ends up happening is our mind needs to be occupied with things that creates movement for it to develop. But in order to have that feeling of being occupied, the body must get it to where it needs to be in order for the mind to be satiated. There's an old saying that goes, idle hands are the devil's work. What that means is that when the hands are not busy, the mind begins to race because it is trying to create the means for work to allow for that need for occupation to take place. This in turn creates spiritual growth because spirit is all about the direction. It's all about the ether. The same with the cognitive aspects that are present within mind. When we begin to put something out in the forefront, let's say a dream, something that I focus a lot on, we begin to see inroads into maybe possible directions that are present and things that we need to conduct behaviorally, things we have to do to engage the step-by-step process of meeting that destination or that end goal in the future. So we begin that process of dreaming life forward and engaging a pathway to realize those dreams and undertake the steps necessary to create those into becoming reality. We ultimately become more closely aligned to a realized state of consciousness. Now, there's no consensus as what it relates to the ideal of finding or having inner peace. In fact, there's even divergences as it relates to Western and Eastern cultures. While in the West, the idea of peace is linked more to the notion of having a lack of contention present, in the East, the idea of peace is more linked to the inner landscapes of consciousness and being mindful of the state that is within. Okay? So while no consensus exists regarding the nature of peace and well-being, due primarily because it's tied to our own personal construct of what is peace, we can see some inroads into how one's inner state may affect one's external reality. Just imagine for 1 minute that you woke up in a foul mood. Will your day go well? Most likely not. That is because the internal state of your consciousness affects the way you externally perceive reality. When I take off my glasses, things become a little blurry. When I put them back on, they become clearer again. Our mood, in the same way, will affect the way that we begin to perceive what is externally happening, and it's through these cognitions that we ultimately begin to recreate or amplify states of conflict or states of well-being and peace. Which one would you rather be creating more of or amplifying within its effect? A state of inner peace and well-being, or a state of conflict and contention? The choice is ultimately yours, but it begins with the process of how we perceive and how we utilize information through our emotional state. Again, body, mind, and spirit. Emotions being part of this mind spectrum, but then utilizing aspects of our body to help navigate the mind to where it needs to be, so it could create aspects of spiritual development moving forward. How can you create a sense of inner peace and calm that will allow you to escape the darkness of the information onslaught that seems all too present in our day-to-day lives? Well, here's a few examples of exercises that can really help to create inner peace and well-being. The first concept is to forgive. Then we'll take a look at general self-care. In this, we'll begin to look at ways that we could utilize physical exercise, cognitive or emotional changes, and spiritual practice to engage in a holistic form of self-care. The other is to create a vision, because inner peace and well-being is really linked to the idea of moving life forward. And that's something that we all could utilize a little more of as we begin to not only formulate a dream, but begin to formulate how we could plan and chart a course to attain that dream into reality. Let us take a look at forgiveness. To forgive is to let go. You cannot take back past wrongs. So why get burned holding on to that hot stone, waiting to hand it off to another? A Buddhist philosophy, by the way. While we're the one that ultimately get burned. To let go creates movement towards a sense of well-being. By not focusing on the past, you make room for the present moment. When we look at what's behind us, we may not have the capacity to go back there. No one does. But when we get to this immediate moment, we could eventually move to the future that we're trying to create. A wise man by the name of Wayne Dyer once said, "Love is forgiving," one word and two. Meaning love is forgiving, the act of forgiveness. The other one with two words is love is forgiving, meaning you give it to other people. I really love that quote by him, and that it really gives us an ideal of what it means to not only give love, but also the dependence that love has on this idea of forgiving. Now think of this for one moment. Does the wake drive the ship, or do you? Do you want to point that ship to where it's already been? Or hopefully maybe to somewhere more exciting, more prevalent to your future dreams? Lao Tse once said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Where do you want to point your destination towards? What future does that hold for you? Now, part of this process is forgiving, so you could let go of that past weight, that yoke, if you will, that may be weighing you down. But in doing so, you begin to free yourself of the burden present that may be holding you back from taking that first step towards your dreams. Let's take a look at general self-care. To take care of ourselves means to take care of our body, the vehicle that takes us places, our mind, the means by which we could solve problems and barriers that may stand in the way to our personal development, and the spirit, that ultimate goal, that destination that gives us the feel-goods as we move along. As we begin to take care of these elements and we align these meridians to, let's say, a goal or a personal vision that we'll look at next, we create the means by which inner peace and well-being will emerge. As I stated above, there's a balance that exists between body, mind, and spirit that's absolutely imperative to create the means by which we achieve well-being. To find well-being is not a destination. It's actually a work in progress that we're continually tweaking, if you will, to create better dynamics for who we're becoming in the moment as it relates to that person we want to be in the future. Now, for body, physical exercise is imperative. If we aren't moving, we aren't giving the mind the candy it craves to be satiated. Now, when I said idle hands are the devil's work earlier, that is a figurative saying. However, the mind does race when the hands aren't busy, so we have to find ways to move and to move in unison with our own personal energy. Not to go against, but to push ourselves in ways that help promote and foster personal growth, especially as it relates to our physical well-being. Now, cognitive and emotional challenges may be paramount throughout life. It's normal that people may go down into a depression or then back up into their sense of normalcy. These periods are reflective in nature and really drive the need that we have to take a look and self-examine in a way so that we can begin to stir things up a little and maybe engage in some different behaviors or different maybe physical activities or spiritual activities that give the mind a new sense of learning or a new sense of work fulfillment. And so this is the way that we could begin to take a look at mind-based self-care. What are we doing to engage with our work? What are we doing to engage with our learning? What are we doing to engage relationally with people to bring out new and exciting experiences? And to engage in spirit really is the aspect of beginning to formulate that destination of where you want your relationships, your work, your learning experiences, and your body to take you. That destination is the ether, that's the unknown at this moment. But to set it in the future, you could begin to move towards it, and each step of the way, this is where esteem, this is where peace, and this is where well-being begin to emerge from the psyche. Finally, let's look at one of my favorite aspects of creating inner peace and well-being, and that's the idea of envisioning. Where are you going? Why do you need to get there? How do you get where you need to be? These are but a few questions that could lead you to creating a personal vision. Now, one of my favorite exercises to work on is a vision board. This could be done physically, like having a large whiteboard and cutting and pasting different pictures of things that you envision towards your future as being a process, or it could be done through such things as Pinterest, where it acts as really an interactive vision board. Maybe you have things that you're envisioning for your future house. We'll put them into a file in Pinterest, and then that acts within a vision board for online, that you could create different categories and subcategories of things you envision for your life. The process is to create a vision about something in the future, something that you can move towards. And by creating a destination, you end up initiating yourself to the work at the moment. And this could actually assist you in creating the dynamics of movement present in the present moment needed to create well-being and inner peace. One of my catch sayings is to advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. Everything begins with a dream and ends up culminating with a winning attitude. But how do we develop that winning attitude? We develop the winning attitude simply by creating experience with winning. And so when we take a dream, per se, and we break it down by steps 1, 2, 3, 4, what is the first step that we need to undertake to make that dream become a reality? Well, once we get through that step, that within itself becomes a success. It becomes a win. And the more that we begin to build wins and successes behind us, the more that we begin to not only edge closer towards our dream that we are moving towards, but we also develop the belief and the self-esteem around our inner capacity to achieve that dream. Sometimes we may need to find some aspects of inspiration. Maybe it is someone to look up to. Maybe it is a mentor. If this is the case, then it's really important to find someone that's moved in a similar direction that you're trying to aspire towards, so that you too can begin to learn the steps needed to succeed each step along the way. And maybe if you have difficulties even planning the steps, you could break down those steps further with someone who's engaged in something that's similar. How does this all relate to personal well-being? By realizing our dreams, we engage with inner success narratives that foster a sense of accomplishment, and we build upon and amplify those themes within our life to create further areas of belief that we can achieve other dreams that we may not thought possible before we achieved that first one present. Thank you for joining me here today. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you in regards to ways that we could find inner peace and well-being. If you have questions, please feel free to comment below. I will answer them either within the comment section, or maybe they will become part of another blog or vlog or podcast topic that I explore. I view this as being an interactive think tank, ones that we could bounce ideas off of each other in order that we may realize different aspects that may hold us back, either individually or collectively, from aspiring towards the dreams we want to create. I want you to know that we're all wanderers on the sacred journey. Here, maybe we could bring some collective light to the individualized process of dreaming and creating a means by which we can realize those dreams. I send you blessings and gratitude, my friends. May you find your sacred journey always to advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. Goodbye for now, and thank you for joining.